Hi, welcome to Prayers Radio. I'm your host, Rich Jarvis. This is my co-host, John Waterhouse.
John Waterhouse.
This show is only about prayer. Ernest Holmes. We call it spiritual mind treatment in this philosophy. John, you got it.
I want to introduce our guest today, an amazing woman who is doing great work in our movement and making a real difference in the lives of a lot of people. Her name is Reverend Tina Migs. I did her undergraduate work at University of Tampa. She became a minister through Agape Spiritual Center in Los Angeles and found her way with her husband Juan Carlos down to the great state of Florida once again. And when I first met her, she was a practitioner with her husband at the center in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. And I have to admit humbly that I immediately saw the potential in this woman and knew that she had a greater role to play. It took me 18, maybe 15 months to actually say it out loud, but she is now the senior minister at Center for Spiritual Living Fort Lauderdale. She's doing a great job. A lot of people say that when she gets up to give her talk on Sunday morning, that she's channeling spirit, and it's just touching souls in amazing and wonderful ways. And I've heard this woman do spiritual mind treatment many times, and her thoughts on this process and this discipline, I think, are going to be rich for all of us. So, welcome, Reverend Tina. Would
Thank
you
you.
kindly treat us in to this
I,
time
I would
together?
love to. I would love to. And can you introduce me to every room that I walk into, please? So I just invite us to turn within in this moment as we close our eyes, as we take a deep breath, we let go of everything that has come before this moment. How wonderful it is to turn within. How grateful and thankful I am to open that inner awareness, to feel the heart beating, to be so attuned and in tune with this body temple. So grateful to recognize that there is a living, loving intelligence that is within and all around. This is that which I call God. It has many names, but the names in and of itself cannot touch the essence and the all that it is. It is a vibration. It is a frequency. It is a truth. It is a divine presence that is never in absence. And that inner God and outermost God is the one God. So I know that we are one with this divine presence, that we have been made in its image and of its likeness, that all that God is, we are, and that this is the opportunity to live in this full awareness, this full free flow of this experience, of this at one-ment with life itself. And that is what we're doing here and now. And as we know this to be the truth for and about us, I just bless this unfoldment of this beautiful conversation. I am so grateful for the coming together of these divine, individual, unique expressions of this one life, of this one mind, of this one power, of this one truth that is ever expressing in its beautiful and unique ways, and how wonderful it is to dance together in this on this day. So I am immensely grateful. I am humbly thankful. And I say, and so it is.
Amen. So
Beautiful.
it is.
Thank you.
Well, you are located at, let me give our audience your web address so that they have it. CSLFTLAUDERDALE.org. I always make sure I spell it out for the folks that are possibly listening to this on Apple Podcasts or all these other wonderful things like Spotify and stuff. So is there anything else you'd like to add or tell us a little bit about yourself beyond that?
Well, yeah, I mean, Dr. John gave a wonderful introduction. I would love to add that I'm a newbie to the Center for Spiritual Living movement, which I'm super grateful for. I graduated from the Agape International Spiritual Center in 2020. And I've always said to anyone that listens that I was in a spiritual bubble. I honestly, authentically and vulnerably am saying that I didn't even know Centers for Spiritual Living existed. I didn't know that until I moved to Fort Lauderdale, until I graduated in September of 2020. And our graduating class received a listing for looking for an associate minister, which was 9 miles from my house, which was in Fort Lauderdale. And that's how I found Centers for Spiritual Living. I thought I was going to find a job. I didn't get the assistant minister position at the time because I was green and I was new, and the senior minister was leaving. So he wanted somebody with, all of that background and experience to take over for him. But that was my first experience of Centers for Spiritual Living. I walked in the doors for the first time in 2020. And then I consistently came in to be in service to the community since 2021. And I think I affiliated in about 2022. So I'm an affiliated Center for Spiritual Living minister, and I'm super grateful for this community. It's been so supportive of me stepping into leadership. There's so much that isn't taught of how to run a community. I mean, how can you teach that? It's just, you learn by doing it. And I don't feel like I'm doing it alone with the Center for Spiritual Living. Agape, of course, has been super helpful, and I have my mentors and teachers that I lead into there. But when it comes to the foundation, the organization, the all the things I may need to know and understand, there's a wealth of knowledge that I just tap into, whether on the site that we have access to or through any of the individuals that I've connected with. So I'm just grateful to be here, grateful to continue to grow and expand and to learn, and to be present to this great organization that's doing great work all over the planet, that's continuing to hold this torch for this teaching that honestly saved my life.
Mm. How cool is that?
Mm-hmm.
Hey, how does prayer show up in your life?
Wow. It shows up everywhere. I think for me, a little background to get to the answer to the question. When I came into these teachings, I was definitely on a spiritual searching, but I can't say I ever had a prayer practice. And so when I had the opportunity to take prayer classes, to me, having the opportunity to pray and learn how to pray, and then encouraged with prayer partners and assignments to pray, daily with individuals, to me, I found my voice is all I can say. It allowed me to really go within, to access, whatever it is that I was moving through, and to touch deep into core traumas, core beliefs, and really speak truth to that. It was such a transformative process in my growth and my showing up in the world, in my using my voice in a way that I hadn't used in the past, or I did use, but then I quelched and quieted. So how it shows up is it has now replaced my inner dialogue most days and most times, when I can catch myself. So whether I'm speaking my prayer out loud, whether I'm moved to speak out loud affirmative spiritual mind treatment, or whether it's the way in which I adjust the thinking in my mind, it's just constant and present.
That's cool. The catching part is always a good thing.
Yeah.
It's like,
So I've had the blessing of being with you a lot of times while you're doing spiritual mind treatment in the community. And first thing I want to mention is you're not one of those soft talkers who goes into treatment and starts whispering, which drives me crazy. Because I learned spiritual mind treatment from my wife, Barbara, and she did not feign away from speaking it boldly as you do. So thank you for that. Another thing about your style is that you start many of your treatments in gratitude, the fourth step, which I have absolutely no problem with. There's never a wrong time to be grateful. But I'm curious how you explain that to people when they are confused by it or in any way critical of you, because they need to understand there's a reason for this. Would you share with us your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, it was the way I was taught, first of all. So through Agape, we have 6 steps of prayer. So our first step is gratitude. So, and then it follows the same order. And then we don't call it gratitude towards the end. We call it Thanksgiving, just to change it a little bit. But they're both the same.
Oh, you
So
do
that's
two
just the way.
gratitude steps.
Two gratitude steps.
Okay.
So, yeah, so for those are new to prayer, gratitude, recognition, unification, realization, what I call thanksgiving or gratitude and release. Um, that's the way I was taught, and the reason I do it and how I explain it to people is, listen, life is life. Life is lifing all around us. Something's going to come up that is going to take us off center. It's just inevitable. I've always said that, these teachings, like I said earlier, have saved my life. They've changed the way in which I think and how I perceive and what I know to be true of reality, but they don't ward off or shield me through experiences that are difficult. Difficult experiences are going to come. And it's just the opportunity to apply the practices, this very tool, to know the truth through those experiences so I can get a better perspective and so I can trust that this is in order for my very life. And so that's why I love that I've started with gratitude. And that's where I tell people, because especially in those moments when it's really, really difficult, I have the experience that it's really hard for me to recognize in that moment because I'm all up in this is traumatic, this is dramatic, I can't see what is happening here. And I really sometimes am blinded by the fact that there is this that is greater than that because I'm so immersed in what is appearing, right? So that which is beyond the appearances, it's a little difficult. So gratitude allows me I can be grateful for anything in the moment. So gratitude brings me into this vibrational frequency of what can I be grateful for here and now? So it changes the dynamic of the experience of me in that moment. So I'm not trying to, let me see God here. It's like, let me get into gratitude. Let me change the inner vibration, frequency, feeling tone of my body as I move from my head into my heart, as I just can say, in this moment, I'm grateful that I'm breathing. I open my eyes. I'm grateful for the blue sky and the sun that's shining, right? It's grounding me. So I guess that's really, we want to talk about, neuroscience, right? It's a grounding factor. It's a way to calm the nervous system in such a way so that now when I move into prayer, I am not just saying these words, I'm knowing them and I'm feeling them.
So you
Very
you brought
nice.
up staying grounded in prayer
Mhm.
in a sense. How do you prep for your day? What do you do to what does Reverend Tina do? Can I call you Tina?
You can please call me Tina,
Okay.
please.
All right. So how do you ground yourself in the day? Do you wake up and just, slap some cold water in your face and say, I'm alive, or what do you do? What
Uh,
does Tina do?
I mean, it does change, but there's the consistency. The consistent thread is, um, yes, I wake up sometimes to an alarm, and I love those mornings when wake up before the alarm, right? So those days go a little bit differently than the alarm days. So those days there's just a little bit more spaciousness, and something else has woken me up to, settle in. But but ultimately, the first thing I do is I go grab a glass of water. I hydrate, right? And I walk out into my kitchen. I pour my water. I, squeeze a little lemon in it. I become really present to this process of hydration and drinking the water and cleansing and clearing, being the process of I'm drinking this. I'm hydrating. I'm, becoming present to this moment, becoming awake and aware and open and receptive and receiving. I'm in the moment of receiving. And then I have a little, I do drink coffee. So I have my little sort of let me, prepare my coffee sort of ritual. And then I go outside and I sit with my coffee out on my front porch and I let the sun hit me. And I spend some time in the stillness. I do prayer. I do read something spiritual. And then I prepare usually to go to work, go into the office. But on my way to work is when I let my prayers fly. I don't put on the radio. It's about 20-minute drive and I'm just in out loud. There's the prayers that happen on that drive. I sometimes am surprised and delighted. I was like, I've never said it like that before, right? It's just kind of like no one's listening. you're speaking your word, you're speaking your truth, you're speaking to what your experience is right now, what you're moving through, some uncomfortability, some doubt, some fear, some worry. You're in a high vibration, like whatever it is, and that prayer on the way to work is always is delightful. So that kind of is my morning practice.
I like it. I like the
That's
sunshine.
phenomenal.
Yeah. John, you got the next one.
So a big part of being a minister is being available to people and offering them spiritual mind treatment.
Yes.
What do you do when someone who comes to you, you do a treatment for them, and they come back the next day or the next week and say it didn't work? How do you handle that?
I've actually never gotten that.
Good for you. Good
I
for
haven't
you.
gotten that face to face. I was at Agape, we had a prayer line, like a live prayer line. And so, when I was living in LA, when the hours I would do on the prayer line, I would always go into the center. And, now I think we don't have the prayer line at an actual center, calls to your phone. But when I was doing it, we had like little booths and, multiple phones set up in the room, and you answer the live call. So I've never gotten someone say my prayer wasn't answered, but on those prayer lines, I would get the people would call with the same prayers. Like those individuals would call every week, possibly every day. I mean, I did 2 hours a month, which is hardly anything. And I would always recognize, like, oh, I know this person, right? And I know that this is the same prayer. But I would just do it like I'd never heard the prayer before. And we were anonymous, too, on the prayer line. So it wasn't about who we were. We were just an anonymous person listening and praying. But I've never received my prayer didn't work, personally.
Good for you.
Yeah,
That speaks to the high quality of the people you work with.
I guess so. Yeah.
That's wonderful. And I'm not surprised that there was a prayer line at Agape because Dr. Michael led the whole prayer ministry
World
at
Ministry of Prayer.
United Church for years.
Yes. Yes.
He knew that inside and out, and I'm not at all surprised that you had that at Agape. That's great.
Yeah.
That's interesting you bring that up because I have this thing on Prayers Radio that says if you want a prayer, call here, and it goes to the prayer center.
Oh, that's
Because
perfect.
I mean, we're practitioners, reverends, or whatever, whatever we are, and we always everybody needs a prayer sometimes, and they do call you back.
They do.
And we've had a few folks on here, including yourself, that actually have served in that capacity, which is, I think, absolutely wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. Hey, speaking of which, you were talking about the person calling. What triggers a prayer in your life, and what do you do about it? What is your practice? If it just, oh my God, there's something happened. What triggers that prayer?
What triggers a prayer in my life? Well, lots of things. Something showing up as a body experience, right? A physical experience that's like, oh, that wasn't there yesterday. And here goes the mental aspect of, or the search on Google of what's wrong. Don't do that. Unless you want to get a prayer, then do that. So definitely that. Let's see what else. Any kind of worry, doubt, or fear. I mean, my prayers are different now that I've stepped into spiritual leadership. It really is about this center more so than my personal prayers. So a lot, I'm 24/7 thinking about the community, thinking about the people in it, thinking about, the financial aspect, thinking about all of the things that go into running a community. So, those any kind of worry, doubt, or fear of me looking at numbers and thinking, how are we going to blah, 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 prayer. Any sort of emotional, I mean, just, it's hard to say because kind of how I, prefaced it in an earlier question of, if I'm aware enough in my thinking, it's just kind of whenever I'm in duality, whenever I'm in separation, whenever I'm in otherness, if I'm, all of a sudden, driving and someone cuts me off and I'm in judgment, right? There's a prayer, right? Like the opportunity to come back to what do I know to be true? How do I come back to seeing the divine in everyone? How do, I'm off center here. And now I don't catch it quickly all the time, but as soon as I catch it, then I go into prayer. And has there been moments where I can't do the prayer myself? Absolutely. And then I call. I've had a lot of boo-hooey moments in this past year of calling people, being like, I don't know. Can you pray? when it comes to this actual position. I've had those moments in my personal life, when, close family or friends have made their transition, or I've had many of animals, I've had to put them down, in the moments of releasing and making that decision. I know it's the best decision, but I'm calling someone else. Like, can you pray while we're literally saying goodbye to someone in this moment? Can you hold this space for me? So I think it's building that muscle of mind, that muscle of awareness of, where am I caught in an experience and a condition of knowing that to be true. And as soon as I catch myself being caught is when I'm moved to prayer, whether personally within myself, like I said, or reaching out to someone else because it's caught me too much.
That reaching out thing is big. A lot of ministers don't know how to do that. They think it's really on their shoulders and that the buck stops where they are, and they just don't know how to fully utilize the community. But I'm certain that by doing that, you're empowering your practitioners and you're lifting them up, making them more important to the process of having a successful spiritual community. And I think that's invaluable that you know how to do that.
Yeah.
And even
Real sign of maturity.
even to our audience that's listening, you have the option of calling somebody else to do a prayer for you, whether you're a minister, whether you're just a layperson, whether you're, you name it. I mean, even the president, like him or not, he had a prayer day on the 17th.
Yeah. We
all pray.
Yes.
So I don't know that we all pray, but actually we do, because everything that we think and say is a prayer. So sure, we all pray, but some of us kind of, I think, do it inside out. So it's nice to know that somebody's doing it with the idea that the outcome that they're requesting is actually going to happen.
Yeah. And that's a good thing. You got the next one, John.
Oh, I'm up, huh? Okay.
Yeah,
So I want to talk about the last step of treatment, the release.
Okay.
How do you use that effectively? What could you tell people that are listening to this program about how that release step actually works and why it's so important?
Okay. Every time I have to answer a question, I always have to go back a few steps. So what I believe and have been taught and have integrated into my life about spiritual mind treatment is that this is a technology, right? This isn't just words for the sake of words. We are doing something and something is happening. And each step has a powerful impact, a powerful shift that happens as we're moving through the steps. So that's why for me, starting with gratitude as I was trained is such an integral part of setting the tone within my own being for the prayer. And then recognition, where I get to recognize, the presence in whatever way I want to. And then when I move to unification or identification, right? I am that, right? I don't have to unify with it, but it is a space of bringing my awareness back to the truth that I already am one. It's only me that's created the division, right? So, and then the realization is the meat, right? The meat of the sandwich, if you will. It's what is the prayer, right? What is my experience? What is the truth that I'm speaking to, what is unfolding in my life, right? If it's a health issue, then that's really where I'm focusing in on my health, my wholeness, my vibrancy, my restoration, my energy, whatever it is I want to speak about. And then the release. Before I get to answering the release part, to me, there's a clicking. So this is a technology. And if I don't move to the next step until that step has moved me, right? That there's something that's happening. There's a shift that's happening. So the gratitude, okay, I'm you can take as long as you want, of course, in prayer, until you feel that, happen within your own being. So by the time I get to the release state, and for those who aren't aware, the release statement is where we're releasing it. We're letting this word go into a universal law of life. There is a law. We live in a lawful universe. This law is always in operation. I always say, I don't know if everyone agrees with me, but there's only one law, right? There's only this one law. It has many, many names, law of emergence, law of correspondence, law of cause and effect, law of polarity. It has all of the names of all of the laws, but it's just another way of subtly describing what this law does. So we believe wholeheartedly in this law and that it is in existence and that it's always operating, whether we're conscious of it or not. And so to me, that space is releasing this, that I'm done with this prayer now, that it's changed me. I'm a different person than when I started. And so it's a proclamation, it's a declaration, it's a releasing this and letting it go. Like, I'm done. I know this to be true. And so I'm letting it go. I'm putting it in the hands of the divine. I'm surrendering it to all that there is. I know that it goes forth from me like a wave, and it does return back to me, with this prayer fulfilled. That's the energy of that release expression and statement for me. Did I answer that?
Beautiful.
Okay.
Well done. Thank you.
At the 5-minute mark, so we're going to shotgun questions, and these are real cool. How do you explain our philosophy to somebody that doesn't know anything about it? It's sort of the elevator speech, if you will.
Oh, the elevator speech. I'm always bad at that.
Let's not affirm that.
Right. Like, we're change that. Just like kind of like, how do you hone it into such a small thing? And I think I'll just use Ernest Holmes' really easy teaching, which is we are a philosophy, we are a psychology, we are a science. Oh, there's a fourth one that I'm forgetting because now I'm on the spot. Science, psychology, philosophy.
Theology?
What is it?
Theology?
Maybe. I want to say, I don't know if he uses the word religion. Anyway,
I don't know.
But it's, we ultimately, we believe that we live in a universe that has laws, that has spiritual principles, that has spiritual truths, and that we get to become aware of those and we get to align ourselves with them. And then it's not just a dogmatic teaching that you just believe this. What keeps me in science of mind, what keeps me in new thought is it's provable. And that's why the science part is so important to me, is because we are the scientists of our own life. We get to prove these principles to be true. That's how we cultivate our faith. That's how it continues to deepen and expand. That's how we continue to stay open at the top, that this is something that works, but don't believe it works because I say it works. Work it. It works if you work it. Johnny Coleman, right, Reverend? So that's it.
Nice.
Brilliant.
And ding, well the elevator opens.
Well said.
Well, let's go with the next couple of questions. John, you want to field them? Or actually, I'm going to field this next one, then you get the next one.
Okay.
Besides The Science of Mind, what's your favorite Ernest Holmes book?
Oh, gosh.
Yeah,
you said besides this thing called you, right? Besides Science of Mind, I would say I was looking through my thing, and I would say the most impactful. I'm going to also preface this. Gosh, I always have answers before answers. At Agape, we for sure, when I went into practitioner studies, studied Ernest Holmes, and certain classes. But there was so many teachers and so many new thought, modern expressions being taught, and different sort of media being brought in. But the first time that I read the Beverly Hills Lectures by Ernest Holmes was impactful in a way that I couldn't understand and I couldn't comprehend, right? I had read The Science of Mind, but to read his lectures, to feel him be present in a room, right? And I think what has come up as an awareness for me today as I pulled this off the shelf was, I read this before I ever knew I was going to be a minister. I read this before I ever had that pull, and to have the awareness of what it means to embody this and then to teach it, right? To speak it, to stand in front of people and to make it so clear and so personal and to touch the hearts and souls of individuals. So these writings were just a different experience of Ernest than I ever had reading some of his other books. This is one of my.
Well, I totally agree. I'm reading Love and Law right now. Have you read that one?
Ooh, I have, yeah. Mm-hmm.
I love that book. And it's his lectures. It's transcribed lectures, just like the Beverly Hills lectures. And I think there's just a different cadence to it all when he's saying it rather than writing it.
Absolutely.
That I really appreciate. So thank you for that. So I'll give you my final question, which is, what would you like people who are watching this this session, what would you like them to take from this experience?
It's a good question. Um, I want them to take with them the experience of knowing that the power resides within them. Yeah. The power to change their life resides within them. It resides in their thinking. It resides in their speaking. It resides in that awareness, in their writing, right? So take on this practice of spirit, I call it prayer, spiritual mind treatment, affirmative prayer. Take it on in a way that maybe you've never taken it on before. If you're new to it, dive into it. Reach out to a practitioner in your local community. Take a class on prayer. I did something different sort of here is I required, in my most recent prayer class, my students to speak their prayers. Of course, writing your prayer is one thing, but it was so transformative for me to speak it because it was uncomfortable. And then also not even speaking it for myself. Now speak it with somebody else, right? Get a prayer partner, speak it with someone else. And there's that, for me, the difficulty in that was it was so intimate to me. This is such an intimate experience. Now I'm supposed to share it with someone else, but it just breaks you open in such a way. And like Dr. John mentioned earlier, we're always praying. We're just not conscious of the prayers that we're setting out into this law that is always responding to us. So become more conscious in your words, in your thoughts, in your actions, in what you write and how you engage in the world. And to know that the power is in you to change your whole life experience, to change your life in a way where you'll look back and you'll be surprised and delighted in who you've become, because you've become the true aspect, the true essence, the true being that you are, because this prayer really just takes down the masks, let go of the veils, clears any idea of separation and brings you into the oneness.
Beautiful.
Cool is that. Well, I'm Prayers Radio.
Thank you.
We're Prayers Radio, and we do a weekly show here. And we want to invite you to come check out our site and check out our guest site, which is cslfortlauderdale.org. Go in the beginning if you need the spelling. That's very simple. And we thank Tina for being here. And let me ask my co-host, John, where can they find you at?
They can find me at mysticlivingpress.com. Where my new book is now available. It's also available on Amazon. And my podcast, A Higher Reality on the Edge of Understanding, is also through that website. You can find that on Substack and Facebook and lots of other places. So we're doing that good work and making a difference in the world. I believe we're all doing that. And I'm just grateful to be here. And thank you, Reverend Tina, for joining us today and bringing such enlightened thought to this conversation.
And just remember, everything is in the show notes, so you can double check that. And John, you're our co-host here, so remember that.
I will remember that. Thank you very much, Rich. That's great. And Reverend Tina, would you kindly treat us out of our time together?
Yes. So it's so wonderful to turn within yet again and to become present and to feel into the very spaces in which we are sitting and to feel the shift, that conversation, that words that have been spoken change the energetic field. And so how grateful and thankful I am just to become aware of it, to engage in it, to play in it, to feel in it, to flow in it, to allow it to wash over us, to allow it to cleanse and clear and be the space and place in which we move forth from this day. Giving great thanks for all that has transpired. So grateful and thankful for Rich and his idea of this podcast, this wonderful idea to continue to be in conversation about spiritual mind treatment, to keep it relevant, to keep it prevalent, to keep it in the forefront of everyone's awareness of this powerful tool that we all can use in our life. So grateful and thankful for Dr. John for his participation in this beautiful podcast, for his way in which he continues to know this truth, be the expression of these teachings in his life, continuing to be the space and place in which he offers his knowledge to all that are seeking through this beloved new book that we just bless. And we bless it all. We bless each and every individual listener right where they are. We know that they are a blessing and that they move forth from their day, from this moment, a little bit lighter, a little bit clearer, a little bit more present to the truth that God is all that there is. And this presence is always within and all around them. And to be aware of its reflection in their lives and be open to the surprise and delight and the way in which divine presence is orchestrating its perfect moments and revelations for each of us in all of that. And for that, I give so much thanks for this opportunity to be here, to be now, as I let it go for the loving presence, the infinite law. And I say, and so it is.
So it is. Again, thank you, Tina, for being here. We appreciate you. Remember to our subscribers, like, subscribe, or share. And just remember, if you don't say a prayer, you ain't got a prayer. Thank you. Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.